Alrighty. Another day, headed on home. It is Thursday, which means it is almost the end of the week. Which means I get to have another exciting weekend of just straight homework. And that's basically it. I guess it is the Super Bowl this weekend, so we'll be watching the Chiefs for the first half. Then it's my bedtime, because I'm still going to be up the next morning for work. I think we have a late work call. I'm not sure if that applies to me, so who knows? We may be watching the whole game. We may not be. It's a matter of just really how much suffering do I want to give myself the very next day. But probably going to be a quick one today. Didn't really have much to talk about. Went through my notes of some of my ideas to go through. Pulled one out that I could go on a rant about, but I don't think it's going to be an entire drive home. I think this is going to be a short and sweet and to the point kind of deal. So, I saw someone post the other day about training their hamstrings and about how they were doing a certain type of squat setup to train their hamstrings. Cool, great idea in theory, but when you actually look at the human body and how we move, you will very quickly discover the hamstrings are not moving during the squat. So, hamstrings connect at the, trying to think of the exact term. Posterior, inferior, pieces? No, pieces? Posterior, inferior, iliac spine? The piss? Something like that. Either way, what we really need to know here is that it's biarticulate. So, connects at the pelvis and it connects at our tibia fibula. So, it goes all the way across the hip joint and across the knee joint. So, what that means is if we have our hip stable and we move our knee, the muscle is now lengthening and shortening. If we have our knee stable and we move our hip, the muscle is now lengthening and shortening. If we were to move our hip and our knee at the same time, the muscle does not change shape because it connects at both of those points. And because it connects at both of those points, have to do real quick my normal check, make sure I have my CAC so I can get back onto base tomorrow. My daily little life flash before my eyes. But if our hip and our knee move at the same time, then that muscle now is not changing length because it connects at both those points. So you can see this very clearly here in the bicep. The bicep connects at our, it goes across the humerus, connects at the radius ulna, and it also connects up here at the shoulder back in our actual shoulder blade area. So here, shoulder not moving, bicep flex extends. Here, shoulder not moving, bicep again still shortens and lengthens. If I were to do something akin to this, the bicep is now not changing shape. Because while I may be trying to lengthen it through the elbow, I'm also then lengthening it or shortening it, whatever the case may be, through the shoulder. So any movement that would happen, both of those joints are moving, which then causes no movement at that muscle to happen. There is obviously movement happening at other joints with other muscles. That's how you can see the movement occurring. But the bicep specifically, there is not a change in length going on. Same idea with the squat. So while our hips are bending and we are having that hip flexion, we are also at the same time having that knee flexion as we're going down. As a result, the hamstrings never change length in an actual squat. Now, if you go sink down to the bottom of a squat and then you stripper butt it and turn into a good morning, yes, your hamstrings have obviously changed shape. So if you are unable to maintain a squatted position, if you are not strong enough with the weight you are trying to use to maintain that shape, well, then yeah, your hamstrings are going to lengthen, they are going to shorten, they are going to change length. But if we are talking about just a pure squat, we're upright here, boom down, boom right up, your hamstrings will not lengthen, will not shorten, they will not change at all. So what this means is they are only working isometrically the entirety of the squat, meaning there is no change in movement, there is just a holding that tension, maintaining rigidity throughout the entire squatting motion. So, if you want to train your hamstrings to be better at squatting, we need to train them under heavy loads isometrically, long durations isometrically. We need to get them better at maintaining, at supporting and stabilizing our pelvis while we are also moving. So maintaining pelvic stability under heavy load, under long duration is a great way to train your hamstrings to be squat specific. Now, whether we need to train them squat specifically or not is a different story. But what I'm trying to get at here is you can't train your hamstrings squatting. Again, if you're trying to train them isometrically, then yes, you can. But when people talk about training something, in the general context, they are talking about the process of lengthening and shortening a muscle for some sort of bodybuilding or strength adaptation to occur. If that is what you are talking about, you cannot get that from the hamstrings in the squat unless you have a poor technical squat. Again, if you can't squat without your ass shooting up, then yeah, you lost your position and boom, you just train your hamstrings. Congrats, you just fucked up a squat. So what that means is we've got to train the hamstrings to then extend the hip and flex the knee. So think leg curls, think RDLs. Vice versa, actually, based on how I said that. So knee flexion, leg curl, hip extension, RDL. We need to train those. Otherwise, we are neglecting an entire muscle. If we look at a lot of Olympic weightlifting programming, you're gonna see squats. All right, we just hammer down that there is no change in length in the hamstrings there. We look at pulls. Well, because a snatch and a clean pull is almost like 90% akin to a squat, we really aren't seeing much change in length in the hamstrings there as well. Now again, we come up off the ground, our back angle should not change. Our knee angle will. So we are going to see some change in length, but really nothing dramatic. And then you have your accessories. So you're doing 2 squatted patterns and really no hinging patterns. So a lot of Olympic weightlifting just completely avoids training the hamstring in any sort of lengthening or shortening position. And then we have all these issues with pelvic stability, with hip pain, with knee pain, with whatever fucking pain, because weightlifters are always in pain due to just, lack of load management from their coaches or from themselves. Again, another video, we've covered that already. But Olympic weightlifters, powerlifters, everyone needs to train their hamstring throughout a full range of motion, just like every other fucking joint. But because people are still stuck on this idea that squats train our hamstrings, they think they're already getting that. Well, no, they don't train the hamstrings through any sort of range of motion. It's through just that isometric contraction, the unmoving contraction. So, long story short, because again, we're at 9 minutes and I said I was going to get straight to the point. Weightlifters, powerlifters, everyone, we got to do some leg curls, whether that be like an actual seated leg curl machine, which would be ideal, or like a glute ham raise, a Nordic curl, doing something with minimal equipment. And we need to hinge, so RDLs, stiff leg deadlifts, Jefferson curls, things that require our hamstring to go through a severely lengthened position and train that hip extension. And then we also need things that take our hamstrings to an extremely shortened position, like the leg curl, for that knee flexion. That covers that. I'm sitting at a red light here, like, we're good. So, moral of the story, squats will not train your hamstring through any range of motion unless you are just bad at squatting. That's it. End of story. So train your hamstrings, do some leg curls, do some RDLs, and then boom, your knee pain is fixed. Easy enough. Obviously, it's not fixed. It's a much deeper picture, but you know, you get the idea.